Andre, if you hear me, there is no sound.
Sorry, you should have told me. So once again, okay.
Yeah.
All right, sorry for that. You can hear me now? Okay, cool. Thanks, Tristan, for backup. So once again, yeah, I've already opened a file. So basically, if you have some particular settings which you do, right, if you end up, which you do is a tiling, because what usually there are a few standards for billboard printing, like if you have 5.04 by 2.38 or 6 by 3, which is kind of a standard which you normally use for billboard printing, then you can automate it. And if you have a such file which is 3 by 6, then you can set up automatic tiling with number of tiles in rows and columns which you require, and then you can save a quick set, export it, right? Which option is that you can use for all the other settings that you do here in the job editors, because as mentioned earlier, you can really you can't do it. You can create a new quick set, and then you can do the settings in the advanced options, but then you can't really visibly see it, right? And you don't know, you try to see what happens if you do a certain changes, right? So you can do it here. So now with color correction, we'll leave for the second for the end. Now finishing, which you have available for Poster Shop and which can really improve efficiency at the customer side. So bleed, you can add a bleed around, right? If it's if it's canvas, yeah, you can see it a little bit in the corners, right? So basically how the canvas will look like. I obviously exaggerate to show you how will it look like. How do you fold the canvas after printing? So and again, there a graphic designer he doesn't have to do it right manually again and waste time to prepare a file online. You can obviously use automatic. You can trim it manually or automatically. You can choose where the fold marks will be used, either just one side or all the sides, but presume you will use it for canvas for all the corners. And then you can either choose a color, which you can pick from here, right? If it's more blackish, right? Then you can use it as a manual trim, as white. There's also a first pixel. I have to reset it and clean it once again. But normally you can here with this option, you can use if the file, just have to reset it right now for the manual auto trim. Oh yeah, sorry, auto trim. So you can see it's a duplication of a first pixel. So right, so if you fold it on the frame, right, you will not have the whitish pattern. You can do a mirror, a few option, or a color which I picked, right? It depending on the particular requirements of the production, right? So and again, you can save the quick set. Let's put it like that. I'll just put it a significant difference, right? So you can see, let's say duplication. I'll increase it, bleed, right? The trim. I will make a significant difference so we can see it on the next slide. So now if I export it as a quick set, like source in the mirror, we not necessarily need to apply all the options, right? And you can just simply save it. Then we can do it desktop. Where is the training? All right, so let's call it just save it. Okay, gold dress. That will be a gold dress. I'll change it anyway. So So this is what you can do here. The same with grommets. Let's switch off bleed. The same with grommets, which is a useful tool. Here we have to change the grommet style and change the color, because otherwise we will not see it. Oh, there you go. You can see. So you choose the spacing or the quantity of the grommets which you like to have on each side of the print. Then you obviously can change the style, right? Then you can change the size of the grommet, which is usually like 12 millimeters or like 10 millimeters, right? And then you'll have them, depending on the type of the job, you'll have them on the file to facilitate the production. Then you can use the offset, right? You can see you can use the placement, right? Where you set up bleed. Yeah, you can also change it, right, and move the marks to grommets to the bleed, right? Right, this needs to be set up close to the bleed, right? Just switch it off right now, not to confuse anything with the bleed. So depending on your requirements, you can set them up, right? It's just pretty common, right, and then easier for production, right? I think for you, especially because probably most of you a little bit touch the case and you know more or less where is it. Is as a reminder, right, where you can find it. And usually it's the best is to have a hands-on and do some settings on your own. Especially if you have demo machine, you can play a little bit, right, on small files. You can change how will it look like before you head to customer, right? Because at the customer side, we rather prefer to be professionals, and if we don't do something on a daily basis, it's pretty much that we don't remember, right? But it's nothing bad, right? It's kind of what happens. Some additional marks to facilitate manual cropping around the file or the whole file or in the corners, right? Some additional, like, which you can use here, will be printed. Some additional settings for folding. We won't be diving into this case too much, as we don't have that much time. What might be worth looking into is to print a label, right? You can set up all the informations which are necessary, especially for the customers who have the proper the workflow at the print show, right? They have an order coming from an external system, usually a company name, etc., etc., right? So these are the information that you might probably like to include on the label, right? And later to be used as a QR code, for instance, below, right? Then, as mentioned earlier, you can automatically create a title outline. For instance, maybe on canvas, right? If you cut canvas on the flatbed cutter, that might be a case where after trimming, you just simply trim a box here instead of preparing a canvas file with a trim box from a graphic designer, right? So the graphic designer will not have to waste his time simply for the tedious jobs and tasks, and will not wait until it's. You can imagine if a file is big, how long it might take to add a file, to add a cut path, and again, in case of any mistakes, you will have to change. Okay, you can use macros from Illustrator or graphic designing software, but then the graphic designer has to.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, just to interrupt you. Some people don't see the image, so just wait 5 minutes. The time they reconnect, and yeah, if you just wait 1 or 2 minutes, people can see the image.
What do you mean? Shall I wait?
Yeah, I don't know why some people don't see your screen, so they need to reconnect to Teams.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah,
Okay,
just wait 1 or 2 minutes.
Before I change it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But they can hear me, I presume,
Yeah,
right?
sure, that's fine.
Okay, so I can keep on talking. So yeah, the generate tile outline cut path might be especially useful if you have a self-adhesive or if you have stickers, right? So at the end, you'll just cut around the jobs to peel off the white media outside the printer stickers. Okay, let's see. Let's give it a couple of minutes. Some connections issues, it happens and never goes away, right? So yeah, you can also generate a label cut path, which is useful then. What is it for? For instance, if you create a tile job and you use a label or a job which goes on a particular wall. Let's say if it's a trade show and there are a few walls to be covered by different graphics, then it's a third-party company which doesn't know the process. So basically, you create a label cut path, and when it's cut on a Suma, Graphtec, or a cutter, you simply peel it off and stick it in the back. So the applicator, right, what we can call it, the guy who will put it on the wall, will know what file is it, right, and where to put it, right, to see it. So for the finishing, again, you save, export as a quick set. Then we'll just load it in a couple of say minutes, right? Let's save it again. Now let's change the name, which that will be Grommet. Yeah, okay, so and do remember we use it on a particular printer settings, right? So you do it for a printer, right? Do remember what I'll be repeating. First, you as a specialist, you see what is required from the print shop, right? Don't to assume that all what you propose to a customer will really work on his side, right? Because not think everything what is obvious might seem to be that obvious. So again, let's reset grommets. We don't need it. We switch it. We don't need them right now. So we finished the finishing. I think we are not having people connecting right now. We don't have people connecting right now anymore, so we can move forward. Right, so we'll touch a little bit of color correction right now, and then partially, as then we'll have the white layers, which you can do here. So you have some filters which you can apply and your customers might apply, which honestly speaking, it doesn't happen anymore that often, right? I remember I used to use it quite often on on Epson 6.5 with X on Cytex XLJet while I worked as a printer operator. So we had to manually change the color, right? And so to say, in order to find the correct, so to say, color. So we used to do it, right? So yes, you can do it, but nowadays the rapid, I mean the engine and profile ICC profile media manager, the engine is so advanced that you rather create a correct profile and instead of playing around with colors, which can eventually ruin the production. So generally speaking, I can imagine that some customers might require some saturated colors, but then I would rather suggest you do it in the profile, export it as a saturated on the last step when you create an ICC profile. But then if you have gray is grayish and the face, I mean, like body is fleshy, color has flashy color, you don't have to do this change. Obviously you can, and then you can apply this filter, and again you can set the filter, you can save that filter, which you can then use automatically on each job that you will use when you open a file, right? So you can keep it like that if you know that for a certain customer you really need to increase magenta, right? Which might not really happen too often, right? And what else what might be useful is a either name, you can have color replacement, and which we have to, in order to show you what is it, we have to change the file, as this is a bitmap, so you can't really use, honestly speaking, that functionality, because then pick a color, you pick a pixel, right? And then if you change it right here, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, so it will just pick one pixel, right, out of the millions pixels, right? And then it will not do the job. So it's rather for vectors graphics. So let me just close that one in order to be more precise, not just talking to you. Let's put the white tag. Okay, some very simple file. Presume you already know, but then you can color replacement, right? Just can pick color, right? See, then you can simply replace to a desired color. You see, this is how it works, right? So it's a vector, it's not a bitmap, right? So solid full colors, which you can change here if you really need. You can do it with also with from swatch books. We'll touch it in a few moments. Here, just generally about the color correction tool, that it's here, it exists. So you can again set it as a filter, so that a particular color or named color will appear in with the changed values according to your specified print. Yeah, so this will talk about a little bit shortly when talking about the swatch books. So here we are pretty much more or less done with color correction tools. And now let's move to the, before we go to the white ink, now let's see the quick sets which we have saved. So now if we do configure printers, right, remember we saved a quick set. I hope I said it in the right place. Yeah, so the grommets, ONT, do I do it incorrect? Yeah. Okay, import. So now you have the settings which you agreed with customer. Now you have them here as or you can import gold dress ONT, which I didn't change the name for. Okay, and then now, okay, let's restart the server. Okay, I'll leave it. When you open a file, say Bumble Groove this time, now I have my grommets. Hopefully it's. Let's give it a minute. right? As you can see, the grommets are there, right? And I can either open it, or I can drop it here in the bottom right corner, or I can simply drop it into the input folder, right? So yeah, as you can see, you can, with a few easy steps, the most important, you can do a lot of things, right, to make the life easier at the customer, but the most important for you is to discuss and kind of diagnose what are the needs, and if there are some bottlenecks, problems, to apply the proper solution. But what I would like to touch a little bit is white, which is the settings as for the layers differs between the printers, like HP. If you have HP 8700W, Epson with white color, Muto, etc. So these options about how and which layer is placed in which order you can see in the printers. So you can again change it in the media manager, in the medias. You can go, this is magic canvas, not here, sorry, any mistake. And again, sorry for that, just give me a second. All right. As you can see, Windows 11 is quite okay. It works without some problems. So yeah, so you can set out, change the printer settings here, right? Sorry, it is here. So you can decide whether the spot color will go under print, over print. Is it simultaneously printed color and spot? Then you do it here for Epson. For HP, you can already download the ready quick set for 800W series, and if you like to print 3 layers, 2 layers, kind of a sandwich on the clear film, you already have predefined settings. Here at Epson, you do it in a printer settings. You decide how do you print, whether you print as on the clear film, or if you or if you need to underprint, right? Because the media is of a particular color, like red, and you need the color to be more vivid. So you do it here. For the other printers, also for the UV printers, right, there are some settings which you have to simply check by yourself on your own, right? What are the settings? So we can't tell you to what is the settings and show all the settings. You do it according to the printer which you currently use. This is an example. So most important is that when you add a printer, it has to have the named colors. I mean, the spot colors, and the spot color, if you use a spot color, you have to use the same name. So if it's white, if you name a color white, then in the quick set settings, you have to have a spot color also name, or if it's in German Weiß, then whatever name you use it, but it has to correspond, a name which I will show you has to correspond to the file and the layer, right? Alpha channel on the spot color, which you can see in Epson. If you go edit, it's unfortunately a little bit hidden. So here we can see if the spot color replacement channel is here. So if someone decides to be in a different language, like let's say Vice, then you click it here, you change it, right? Or like in Polish, right? It's in Polish. So then the RIP itself will recognize the such alpha channel or the spot color. Right? Otherwise, you might not see it, right? And these are typical problems, right? If someone creates a file and the customer will phone you, I can't see my my layer. What's wrong with it? So most probably the name of the alpha channel or the spot color is not on the list. It's kind of different, right? There is a white paper guide for how to create create a file in Illustrator or CorelDRAW. So if you really need to dive deeper into that case, you just let us know and we'll send you the white paper available, right? How to create. Or there is also a videos on the online on the ONYX TV, where you can also find all the settings, how to change and amend them, which then you can see if we open in the job editor. And color correction, right? You can see it here, right? So it's just it's not it's just a preview, right? To be clear, right? It's not the density of for Epson, right? Here you can change the density, but here with white where it's different. So this is where if you get a file, if your customer phones you and hey this doesn't work, I can't see the layer, so probably this is some wrong settings which they have to apply, right? And so regarding to the HP, it will look here pretty much the same, except as mentioned, the settings where will it print, right? Whether it will be underneath the tiger here or overprinted, right? So wouldn't like to waste too much time as a very specific, as a kind of a specific relating to the printer, right? Which you think have you can do it at your demo, but it's just to let you know that the tool is here. And but also some of you might find useful a general tool, which is spot layer color tool, right? For instance, this will might be useful especially for the UV printer users, like any printer user, okay, any UV with white. So basically it will let you to create let me just bring a different file because this one has a spot color. Let's open this one. And let's assume it's a UV printer, which has an option to print white color. So you can create, which you usually quite often you will might need a to create a spot channel to float fill, right? To cover the job with white, or to print fill in the image array. So there are a few options which you can use, right? You fill in the white with white spaces on the image with white color. If you print on the dark media, for instance, if you need it, or rather, I think the float fill might be the most commonly used on the UV, except of the spot color, right? Which you use as in a particular place. So here you can use the opacity can be changed, so a bit more or less. Though I would say it depends also on the driver, right? Because if you export it a file with white and you do it here, generate it as a spot layer, complete layer, then it's and it's a printer which needs a separate software like white grand format, like handtops, like Agfa, like EFI, some of Mutox, etc. They also need a separate software, and then the software will influence the opacity. So might not necessarily always work here, right? If you change to 100%, or if you change to 53% or 50% here, right, then on the printer, eventually you might get the full coverage with 100%, because that's because of the driver itself. So this is an option if you don't create a spot, if you don't use the spot channel, and you just need to print a layer underneath or over a job, right, without any additional spot colors, right. So then it's pretty much okay with the color correction, where you can find it and what is it for. Now let's do briefly swatch color blocks to show you more or less what are the options that are useful in which customers will use on a daily basis. So swatch color books, it's but dedicated for those who are seeking for a right color, either a named color, a spot color, and are looking for a particular color. Since version 22, you can also add a ONYX color library. You can see here. So you implement the library to graphic designing software, and then you pick a color from the list here. Well, pretty much a similar solution and a library as RAL or Pantone, right? So if you're looking for a particular Pantone color, and if you have a CMYK machine, right, for machines that have more color spot colors like orange, red, right, or even green, then and violet, you can, the gamut is much more bigger, and you can get more colors from the default ICC profile than from the CMYK printer. But if you need to print a particular color, right? So you might need to create okay, let's say let's stick to the Epson, right? Let's don't mingle between the printers, right? So then you pick a color that was the Pantone 124 CVS, which we are looking for. Then you generate swatch books for the color, and the one on top here is your reference color with a name, which how the printer will interpret it. And if it's not the one which you're looking for, because customer has different preferences, or you have a chromalin, then you'll have to seek for the proper one. What's most important here, you have 2 or 3 dimensional. You usually use 2 or 3 dimensional if you have spot colors like red, orange, or you have some additional spot colors, basically, except of the CMYK, light cyan, light magenta. Here you can change the size of the patches, right, and change the gap, etc. Then you have 2 options, right? You can do either visual print, right? Okay, so right. Okay, then it keeps open, right? And then you print the file, and then you visually look. Okay, let's see. This one is a reference. I need this one. Then you set it as a source, and from this moment now on, the such Pantone will be replaced on that particular machines with these particular CMYK orange values, right, to make it well, to have the broader, better color, right, according to the specs, right. You can also add it to the print mode, and if you can't really find the color again, so you can set it as a source and print once again visual swatch, and then you try to find again, right, to get closer to the color. But you just be careful, right, and remember, probably those who are in the business, who've been on the business for donkey years, and that CMYK color reproduction has some limits, right? So for some colors you can't really make them, right? Especially Pantone, right? So so you can get as close as possible, but then you always have the artificial light or sunlight. If you go outside, and the color will change, right? Especially on the eco-solvent printers, which is always a bit tricky, right? Then you also have an option to print a measurement swatch. So you choose let's go print reflect. We have to choose device. Yeah, I don't have device on the right now. So basically you have to use add a device for which let's see, I want Pro. Should be, not sure if it can. Okay, now because you have to use the correct measurement device, it will print the swatches according. Yeah, you see, according to the X-Rite calibration chart, right, which you can then print, and then you simply measure. So it's a very, very nice tool, especially for those customers who really print logos for companies, and they need the precise color, right? They can easily do it, right? Some of the people, especially, might be useful for those who print dye ink sublimation or textile printing, because then with with dye inks, with sublimation and textile, there's always a problem with color, right? Especially if we are talking about garment for, for cycling, right? Just ask if you have a question to print blue, then it can be a nightmare, right? Because the expectations are out of the blue moon sometimes, right? If a customer who prints a cyclics clothing will ask you to print blue, then it might be a hell of a work for you. But with swatch books, you can really facilitate your work, and you can make it easier, right? And then you can do it with a customer, because for such customers that are looking for a color, right, general color, right, which is a blue, right, then you can ask, okay, Mr. Customer, if you don't like this blue, just tell me which blue do you really like, and it will be always like that for you, right? Okay, we have to explain that he has to name the color, right? And then he can pick it, right? So there you can make your life easier. And this, when you set it up, there you can also use it as a color, the matching table, right? Which will show if you save it here, right? We don't have any right now currently, but if there is a list, there's a spot color replacement. If we save it, it will appear here. So the Pantone pink, see, for instance, the one, a random pick, will see the specifications here, right? How will it replace, etc., right? These are the options, right, which you can probably, before you go to a customer, I strongly advise you to do additional because as we have the videos on the ONYX Graphics TV, there are quite nice videos which you can go step by step, once again, on your machine, right, which will make it easier, because this is a general description where you can find it, where you can do it, where you can apply it, right? So for this watch books, this is pretty much okay. Just to remind you, the printers have some particular settings, but all in all, we have general media settings, right, which we do here. As for ONYX, you probably know that we use an algorithm to place the medias jobs on media. We not necessarily use Composer as some other manufacturers will use, right? There is a layout tool which you can use to prepare your own layout. That does it make really sense? Years ago, I thought that was a very nice tool, and but now I can see it, to make life easier, you have to do it automatically, right? So basically, you just drop the files here, you open the files here with some particular settings, right, with finishing, and then you put as many as possible them here. And then what is new, you can even send them automatically when the jobs will fulfill like 90-80% the percentage of the media coverage. I'll show it to you during the upgrade content shortly. What you might need, what you might like to remember is here some options which are available. So the offset, some general settings. Sometimes the customers might ask you, okay, I have the plotter, so now I can I need the offset because the file has to start or finish a few centimeters. It has to have a few centimeters of white in order I can coverage of percent. So until you drop files here, you drop files into the queue. So once it's filled for, when it's full in 90%, it will start printing automatically, right? So here, printing gutter, which is it still useful? Some of you might use, but you know, nowadays the printers, you know, the cleaning processes, automatic cleaning processes will keep the print head in a good condition. The printing gutter is a CMYK or CMYK light magenta light cyan, a color strip on the edge of a file, which uh, um, which used to which we used to print, especially for old hard solvent printers, not to let the heads dry. One of the interesting options, which is worth remembering, flip every other tile, especially for older printers. So basically, each tile will be rotated 180 degrees in order to make that the colors where each edge you stick will match with the other, because used to happen, especially on the older machines, that if you tile a job, if you print it as a one, so then here the color will be different, will be, so to say, lighter here, darker here, depending on the machine a little bit. And then if you stick a tile one to each other, then you will stick darker to lighter. So if you rotate it 190 degrees, then you will stick darker to lighter, right? Sorry, darker to darker, which will, and you will not, there will not be that visible difference, right? Time-based can be an option for some people. Here are the options to best fit rotation, right? Depending on what you need to conserve media as much as possible. For some printers, you have to be careful, like HP 1500, sorry. You be careful because HP can conserve media and do the placement within the machine, right? So if there is an option here for HP 1500, do the placement in the machine, you might have a problem because it will not be doing properly nesting here and conserving media and placing the jobs, because you would like to do it in the printer. So if you have such problem and you can't do the placement here, conserve media, and put all the jobs together, then see if there is no such a thing, a tick box here, right? Spacing, right, between jobs, you can remove it, 0.5 millimeters, right? Yeah, and that's basically it. Just to show you a difference, let's move here. You see there is a difference, right? So some of the machines might differ a little bit. You can trigger printing manually here only, right? Sometimes happen when you install a RIP for the first time, the user can say, the print starts automatically. What I can do, especially if they are not trained that, and if they are not that fluent with RIP. So here is the option, right? They have to turn it off, right? But all the options are here, right? Some new functionalities, especially for XY trimmers, that can be chosen here. If you use XY cutters that are available here, depending on which one you choose, these settings might differ a little bit in the options. You see, so depending whether it's Kala, Photobar, for the others like Nealt, you will probably use Photobar. Photobar, sorry, lines, which is also an advantage of ONYX. This is worth mentioning because normally if you use some other software supplies, you have to always pay, right, to use it for Photobar or Color, which you probably know, especially for those who also have other software resellers like Caldera in their offer. We do it here, right? So this is a great advantage, right? And so for all these options, you please refer to the XY cutter which you use, right? So the size of the thickness of the lines, etc., and what settings you really want to do, right? Other than that, you have some standard settings which we've shown for standard placement, right? All right, so we're pretty much done with all these options except of the cut server, which is kind of a straightforward. I strongly advise you also, we'll just touch it right now, but strongly advise, there's a very, very nice video on the ONYX TV if you do it for the first time. And if you don't remember it by heart, you can go there and watch the video, which will guide you step by step how to do it. But anyway, I will simply show it to you just to let you know where to do it, right? So basically, you can do a quick set. You can either edit or you can create a new quick set. Okay, let's put a new cut. Okay, cut. We have, okay, let's skip the profiles, all the other options which we don't necessarily need. Here you have the cutter section. It's pretty simplified. You pick a cutter which you need. Be careful because this I have here on the list Zund, Valiani, I have Kongsberg, which I echo, but then you better be careful because we drive all the roll-to-roll cutters, including Suma F series, though the flatbed cutter is always an option, which is chargeable, right? Please refer to the price list for the current pricing, but it's generally it's like 1595, right? 1595. So yeah, you pick you choose some, okay, let's say S class, and then you can see what the prefixes can be used depending on the tool, right? Because usually if you have to use the correct tool, especially if it's a flatbed cutter, there are more tools, but also for Suma you can find keys, flex, keys cut. You can use all these, or you can add your personal one, right? I don't know what would be the reason to do it, but anyway, you can do it, right? Then if you have a path in the file which has a spot color with the name blue, it will recognize it as a cut path, right? So you do it here. You can add obviously the trim box and you can add a tile outline and label cutting, which we just covered a few minutes ago. So you do it, set it up here. So now the RIP itself when open with this quick set, will recognize if there is a cut path. Let's do it. Yeah. Okay. We don't need it. Let's where is it from? Samples. I need this. I hope that I'll need to go. If you don't have any samples, there are always samples. It should be samples here, right? ONYX quality test, my favorite. Okay, as you can see, I have the quick sets which I previously used. I'll change the machine. My open it. Okay, see, it's instantaneously rip the fly. It's good. Okay, I'm here. Sorry. So let's get rid of the previous jobs which we don't need. Okay, so here, as you can see already, there is a barcode, right, from Suma, right, automatically on the file, because here there is a, where is it? There is a cut path here. So it's here, some over here, right? It's a small one. But then if once we print it, okay, see, there are no errors, right? I print to file just to let you know how do I do it if I don't have a printer, right? Just a stopo. If you go to manage printers, right? Because how do I do it if I don't have a printer, right? Okay, right. How does he do it, right? So if you configure it, right, or you can do it in configure printer depending on which device. If you have many devices, you probably go to the file printer. Then you have device configure port, right? TCP, usually IP, right? Or print forwarding only stage, which we touched at the very beginning, which we discussed, and then I choose print to file, right? This configure option. Okay. This is just for testing purposes, right? And for the training purposes, normally you will use a TCP IP. All right. And then you have to set up the cut server properly, right? Obviously, right? Which I already have here, and you can see I have a few. As for the cutters, you can have as many as you like, right? So that's not a problem. You can manage the cutters here in the file. We'll get there, but generally speaking, you can here either delete, add a new one, right? You pick a model. Let's do it. I don't know. There's so many of them. Let's see. It's big Boolean. Okay. So, and the rip itself will recognize, as you can see, layers, right? Cut contour, you see? Cut contour 1, 2, 3. If there are some different tools like KissCut or a router included, like for Zoom or Kongsberg or even SumAF, a router or KissCut knife, etc. There will be also different layers with that will be cut with a particular tool here, right? So here the option for a each cutter, you can play with the options. Sorry, this one changed to Polish. So if you open your own ribs, there are some settings about the force of the knife which you can change, and some additional tools which some additional settings which you can do either here or on the cutter itself, depending on the way which you use, right? So I would say that on a cutter you also have profiles with some settings like speed, force for a particular media type, right? So whether it's a film or canvas or a textile, you different settings. So if it's a cast vinyl or it's a monomeric vinyl, you use different settings, right? Which you do on the plotter, right? So just briefly on the media manager, which you have for poster shop. So generally speaking, it's your library, right? Which you can use again. It's can change the Polish from Polish, but anyway, you probably know here's your library. Here you can import, export the ICC profiles. You can create a new ICC profile here. If you create a new one, there is a wizard. But the ICC profiling is something what we would cover on the a new session dedicated for ICC profiling, though there are quite a lot of things what we can do, and preferably on site with you with a machine, because then it's always better to see the outcome instead of just talking about that an option is available, right? You have different printers, different requests from the customers. Only what you can maybe be interested in, that you have contone and the half tone, and for the contone it's rather an automatic process of creating an ICC profiles because you don't do single channel limits, and for half tone printers, well, you can create an contone profile here for Epson, but also halftone. And then there you can play a little bit according to your specs with the single ink limit, CMYK plus total ink limit, which you can influence, have an influence on a little bit. But if you like to create a standard profile, automatic is the right choice, right? I mean, the Contone, or to use it according to with the wizard, along with the wizard, instead of tweaking it with some changes, right? You have to be really, some of you are probably, I presume, I would say some of you are knowledgeable that much that know what to change and how to tweak a profile if there are some special needs to get a color, but then you have to know how to do it, right? Other than that, we also have a color check for Thrive users that will print a color check, basically to check the consistency of a profile and on the particular file. So you need to have the spectrophotometer, which you will later use to measure it, and which will show you what is the delta between the measurements, right? Current and the previous. I don't have the previous measurements, so we just I will not be venturing that deep into this option, as basically especially for the bigger printers, I would rather say, right? Not a lot of Thrive users can you have to be really knowledgeable, and you really need to know what the outcome you really need to get, right? Because it will tell you what is the difference between colors, right? To see if you are on the correct side, right? But then if there is some change which you have to do, again, you have to recalibrate the profile, create a new profile, because might be the reason that you don't get the correct, you're not according to a standard like G7 or like Fogra, because the print heads are already old, right? You know what happens if a printer is like 5 years old, right? You and then if you do the head replacement, and sometimes if you do a profile on an old print head and then you do a head replacement for the new one, the color will be totally different. I really had that I also had that kind of sorry, I had to form a word, but I had that cock-up. I replaced, when I worked as a technician, I replaced the print head. And beforehand, I did some profiling on the machine, and then once I replaced the head, you know what had what happened. So the colors were totally wrong, right? So I had to do the job twice and reprofile the machine again. But yeah, hey ho, it happens. And I presume it's happened to most of you already. Anyway, I think, yeah, for you, most important right now, I think, is accept that to know that that's particular functionalities are in job editors where you can save, to quick set, to remember that these functionalities customer used to automate, and they don't need to do a manual as we did right now. So they don't have to always open a job editor, tile a file. Then, because you probably know that wide format printing is about printing pretty much similar jobs, right? It's very rare situation where they print every single job is totally new, right? It's rather, as told, as I've already told, it's rather a final banner, canvas, etc., right? So yeah, let's stop with the hands-on session, as I would like to really do the upgrade content, which is very important for you and I mean for the customers, right? Because you probably know, well, you know that the update for a software is a pain in the backbone, so to say, right? The customers are not usually, they don't consider it as a must, right? So our kind of a mission is here to get them more efficient, to let them automate production, right? Because nowadays you probably see it's especially on the European market, right? You can see there are problems with struggles with the manpower, right? The employees, they fluctuate quite often, right? And you don't make me wrong, but sometimes you cannot anymore rely on people, right? Especially new generations, right? The Z1, right? The Z1 is the latest one. Then if something if something doesn't go okay, they'll just simply change the job ad hoc, right? So in that case, we strongly we try to educate the customers, right? To show them the necessity of being to be more efficient, to automate some processes, which you can. Yeah, you have AI, right? You see the software drives, well, drives the world, we can say, right? I mean, that might sound a bit globalistic, right? But it is what it is, right? The software drives all the things, even though the customers, they don't really like to do it, right? They don't really want to change it. So I'll briefly go through the new functionalities, which yeah, just to leave a trace in your head that these options are available now in the new versions, right? So so the upgrade content with the most important options. You also have the newsletters you can which you can check, but I presume most of you don't have that much time, so it's a great opportunity right now to go through the options, especially that we are pretty much okay on time, I think. And then at the end, I hope we'll still have like 20 minutes or a quarter to touch the truly automation stuff, which your customers, the big, so to say, honestly speaking, the bigger size might benefit from, right? So anyway, let's go. So every update will bring you, well, the update will bring you the new engine, right, which is the most important, to which simply process the jobs faster. Okay, the customer who is on the version 2021 will probably not see the difference, but then if you have a customer And if you are on site, because you probably fix some problems, right? So you can deliver a solution, right? And if a customer starts complaining and is moaning, oh, it takes so much time to process the job, the ONYX RIP is so slow, because usually customers, they blame the software, right? It's always about the software, right? The software is so slow, etc. And then you can and you see that a RIP version is like obsolete. Well, if it's version 12, it is really obsolete, right? Whereas the customers really, they use version even 11, right? But then even version 18 will have already like 4 or 5 years, right? Just imagine, just juxtapose the 5 or 6 or 7 years old RIP with a phone which is that old, right? Can you do it? Yeah. Well, can you use such a phone? Right. Technically, you could possibly use it, right? But the applications, right, will require so much memory that no, you can't do it, right? You really can't do it. So this is what we try to tell to the customers, that the software is about to save your money, and the functionalities will let you do it, right? And here's something which was totally new functionality, because as mentioned before, version 22.5, and all the customers who are on the previous version, they store the jobs in the archive. So if something happens, or if not necessarily a problem, in an issue, right, or if they just need to find a job, and they have like gazillion files, right? Hundreds of files sometimes they might have, they can't do it, right? And with ONYX archive, they can easily save the jobs with all the necessary information, with all the settings. I mean, sorry, not necessary, but all the settings, and they can back them up on a place on the hard drive. And then with just one click, if they go to archive, as you can see here, let's laser pointer. Or if you click here, right click, they can either move it to RIP or simply copy it and leave the copy sealed. So for instance, okay, then you'll say, well, who is it for, right? But who will use it, right? So basically, the customers who will use, who for instance print a car wrapping, and they need to replace a door, basically because there was an accident, right? And just have to replace, and they don't know what were the settings. So here, if they save a job, they don't need to save it in an Excel file, right? Because there are always mistakes. If someone has to do it manually, then there might be a mistake, right? And an example, a reseller told me, oh, that would be, oh, sorry, it was the end user during a roach, told me, oh, that would be great option. We had that situation that we had to travel for 4 hours one way and back and forth 8 hours took us, because we didn't know what color profile we had printed a file. So you just imagine, so 4 hours by car. This is a cost, right? Except of time, right? So they could already save it, right? With just, and it's not an additional feature which they have to pay for, right? It's an upgrade in the latest 22.5 ONYX RIP. Or maybe some who print wallpapers and interior decoration. Someone damaged a tile, and they don't want to replace a whole wallpaper. If they have it in the archive, they can simply move it back to the queue and print with the same settings, right? Quite nice option, which might be useful to even more, or to automate printing even more. So maybe smart job submission. I'll show you the option shortly, just a little bit of theory right now, and then you can we'll do the I'll show it in the RIP, right? Not just talking. So smart job submissions, if you create with a particular name, can add copies, change magnification, rotation, put an order number, etc., etc. So again, you avoid printer operators to do the changes, right? If there's an order coming to a graphic designer, he prepares a file according to a specification, and he has to, and there are like 5 copies. It doesn't have to, he can already send it to the input folder, and it will appear in a RIP. Again, what mentioned before, time and material savings, so you can trigger printing based on the area. So let's say you have a job which you have quite nice, like customer, sorry, has a job which jobs and material which he has a quite good turnover and on the job and the margin. Then they can decide, okay, I'll just, once it's 80% full, for me it's fine, I can start it automatically. It also can be useful if you prepare the job printing for flatbed printers, right? So you just drop files to the RIP, and once it covers a board with 90 or 80%, right, the conserved media, the placing will do it for you. Then it sends to print a full board, right? Also, additional features like split copies and trim box will improve job placement, especially if there is a jig. This might be which those who mainly do roll-to-roll cutters will might not see the usage, but for those who have customers printing on gadgets, they most often use some jigs where they place like pencils or a gadgets, right, in a jig, and then they have to do a placement. So they either have to create again a particular nesting where a file they put, or they can do it automatically, right? With a few clicks, they can prepare a separate job. They can prepare a correct placement, right? And the nesting, this is it here, auto trim. If you select it here, so it will create jigs where you simply place a job. So if there is like 20 pencils to be printed with a particular logo, then you just open one logo, and it will place all over the jigs, right? Was also important, right? Because customers quite often they don't see the importance of the upgrades, but they get some additional equipment, not necessarily printing equipment, right? And they say, oh, it does, I cannot use a printer. So additional printers, obviously, that are available for you. And again, this is the option which we've already talked about. So XY trimmers, which is it's well, for those who really have this equipment, can be useful pretty easy, and that's it, right? And for those who do profiling, we add new devices, right? We constantly increase the number of the devices. You have D65 measurement condition, so it's quite an option, especially that D50 is sunlight, right? Well, and D65 we can find interiors, so then the colors will different, right? So for instance, grayish will not be kind of into cyan, or will be kind of a warmer. You can describe it like that, more or less. So it's rather for, as you can see, textiles, because for the typical wide format digital printing, you'll normally use like D50, sorry, conditions, right? But this is an old, as a Okay, just to show you the archive, because this is really something what you might really like. So you have the jobs. I think I should have some, oh, you can see I have each printer driver will show here, right? You can set it. It depends on you whether to do it automatically. So once a job is printed, it will disappear from here, and it will go into the archive. And then if you then would like to, I've just deleted it, right? I have my way is to automatically save. You can back them up, but here, sorry, here I have a file archive. So I have a file which I have already printed, right? So this where above here you have the current status, right? So buffer jobs, right? The archive is here, but you can see I have a file which I printed before, and I like to reprint it so I can restore it. I can either move it or copy it. So let's copy it. It's the test driver. Yep, successfully. And then just a few clicks, you can have it here, right? And what's even more, you can search files here, right? So if you have proper naming, right, this is what some of your customers might really like, right? You have proper naming, set it up, and if the workflow process is set up in a print shop, you can really try to find a job, right? I'm not sure. I would have to do fast moving car. What, I don't have many jobs, right? You can see, but I'll have to search criteria. What do you have? Job 9. Do I have something? Sure, if I can show you. This we don't need. Sure if I can do it right there. Yeah, see? So out of all of my 3 jobs, but if you have like 100 and you like to find a particular, just for instance to see the profile settings, you can do it easy like that. In standard, in a rip itself, in a queue or in a spooler, you can't really do it, right? You can just keep the jobs, right? And it's right. Yeah, there is we'll skip the layout tool as we, honestly speaking, some of you might need to use nesting tool, which is kind of a nesting, manual nesting, which you don't really need to do at ONYX. You can obviously change a file, rotate it manually, do the label, add some patterns, etc., which you normally don't do it because it will take time to create. Have a look here, right? A nesting, right? We rather prefer to do it automatically. So either here to conserve media, here if we have a file, instead of doing it manually, because it takes time and we just simply don't have time, right? So to say, so you rather do it here with conserve media placement, etc. And you rather like a quick set, do it, and a quick set does it for you, right? So that's what we're looking for, right? That's what we can offer to the customers to improve, right? And sometimes on the in daily work, you sometimes don't remember because it's usually an installation, rip and print, rip and possibly cut. But sometimes it's better to spend like an hour, a couple of hours with a customer to see what he really needs. Because then if you progress, if your customer excel and make progress with you, right, the customer will stay with you, right? And there is I know you are in your competitions, right? Sometimes, But then, don't make me wrong, but if you advise a customer, right, and you provide a solution, right, which is not always the machine, right, because the machine can output money, right, as such, right, they can touch, it's a tangible, right, you can see the money coming out of the machine, but with the software you can fix some problems on the production, decrease waste, and save simply time for the customer, which the customers can be grateful, and they will simply stay with you. If you don't do it right, someone who does it later will take the customer from you, right? So it's not only right about fixing the machine, if we are talking about the technicians, right, but it's a pure advisory, right, because you probably know, right, what it sales differs from the technicians, right? You're on site, you, as mentioned, you discuss it with the customer, you see what the production really looks, right, except of the fact that, for instance, a printer has bending, right? You see the bottlenecks, you see what do the operators do on a daily basis, and the automation which we try to introduce, right, with to the customers. It's not about firing people, right, making them redundant, right? It's all about making them more efficient, right? If you have an operator who does some tedious jobs by clicking open a file, you can imagine how much what else can he do if he simply opens it in a quick set, right? It's about for him to maintain the machines, maybe do some additional jobs, etc., right? So, but it's about you. You're on site, and you can diagnose it, right, and then apply a proper solution, right? With what is the another advantage, right? It's always that feud between the operating system, either Windows or the other ones also, right? So some customers have preferences because they use Mac OS, right? Though, as you can see, probably MIS softwares and especially for those who are looking for automation, those softwares are already Windows based. So now we can touch a little bit the proper automation with a sync, which you can really do a significant improvement on the production, and because, so to say, we have basic level 1, which we just discussed. So input folders, drag and drop files. So even a customer with poster shop, yeah, he can do it, right? But there's a big print side, and some MIS system, ERP, CRM systems are involved. In order to get more automation, they will need information from Thrive, right? Normally, if such system will require an input, right? So let me touch a very nice thing what we do right now. We still have quite some time. Where is it? It's the same newly launched product which which I would like to talk about to you. Obviously, later after the training, when you discussed with me, either me or Tristan or Mark or on a daily basis, you'll probably listen from the customers. Oh, I would need more automation. I have different services. How to connect them? How to make that the RIP eventually will communicate directly with a CRM system. Meaning, as an example, a job has been finished. So what now? Okay, then there has to be a ticket, a communication back to the system that the job has been done, and there has to be sent a consignment letter on information to the customer. Normally, someone has to do it manually, right? And it's okay until you don't have a lot of jobs fluctuating on a daily basis, different, right? Which you normally get automatically from the system. And nowadays you can probably see customers already have some production management systems to manage production, though eventually they stop on the production manager on the printers operators PC, where they have to input the data, tick a box that the job's been finished, etc., right? So it takes time, right? So where's the automation in that case, right? It's just they can, yes, they can manage production, but they can't really automate it, right? So it's about to solve mistakes, human errors, get rid of tedious and monotonous work which can be done of the by a software, right, automatically. And eventually the RIP itself will deliver the data, which is very important to let the customer to have the precise information, not to guess, right? So as you can see here, oh sorry, too many clicks, not the right place, whoops. So as you can see, normally if you don't have sync, the process will stop here, right? So there is a website, a customer, there is an order coming from the website, but someone has to send it, right? Oh, someone has to report to the MIS system, etc. Then the data reporting tool, again, it has to get the data from somewhere, right? But with Sync, we provide with a fantastic tool to get these tools connected with Thrive, right? Which is eventually at the end of the print shop, right? So okay, we have these tools here on top, but eventually the money, put it simple, right? The money is coming out of here, right, to the printer. Okay, there is a printer, but generally speaking, the money is being somehow produced here. So in order to automate and to get information back, we used to have Connect, right? But Connect requires JDFs, etc. So not all the softwares can use JDFs, etc. Right? With API, we have more possibilities to connect external services and to what is it for? To automate activities, collect data, get notifications, especially for plant managers, and to simply to automate, right, to make the efficiency, right, which we can see the customers are looking more and more for. So just to make it clear, right, because this will involve the implementation of the developers, right? So when there is a request for such automation, we'll discuss it case by case, obviously, right? How to get to the how to advise on the case and provide a proper solution. But yes, it will probably in most of the cases will require developers, though I have already spoken with customers who have developers on site because they have their own systems. So you can use the resources of the customers, right? So so just to tell you, just to describe you the case, right? You can see this manual, this footprints, which you can see here. So this is a manual labor that has been done by someone, right? So again, some mistakes, probably someone is on a sick leave, so someone else has to do it, right? And again, delays, human errors, data entry errors, right? And then you will not get the proper data, right, out of the to the system, and is again you're back to guessing a little bit, right? So the more precise you are, the better the business will go. And with API, it's changed a little bit, right? So you have a software and it will communicate through the API to Thrive. So there's the job done on Thrive. It will send notification, hey, the job's been done. Hey, send information to ERP system. Okay, please send the consignment letter, or please prepare the consignment letter. Please notify the customer. Okay, so the job is coming to Thrive, and Thrive sends back information, which can be done simply automatically, right? And again, right, just because you might say, oh, then meaning that you want to get rid of people. No, it's not about making people redundant. It's all about making them more efficient, right? Because as mentioned, as you probably, your customers already struggle with lack of human power, right? Or even if they have, right, these some people fluctuate, they change their job often, and then to train a new person, it takes again time, and time is money, right? No matter what happens, right, on the printer, how much they can print, right? Again, if there are some errors, this is money, right? Which they will simply wait. And with automation, you can simply do it, right? Yeah, and it might sound a bit repetitive, right? But then if you go to a customer, you'll probably see, right, it's clearly, right, what's going on, right? And those even a postage shop users that might really need some, so to say, help, right? Because solving a problem to providing a solution is the help for the customers, right? So here's the use and examples. Let's say it's a web to print, which a customer will have. So you can see, okay, customer will order a canvas. Let's say it's a web software, right? Web to print, right? Online shop for let's say this case canvases, right? Then it will go directly to the ONYX with particular settings, right? On order number, customer name, etc., right? And then it pops in directly in the RIP, like kind of an input folder, though, just to make to compare it to something, right? To kind of an input folder, but it's being done with API directly from the web to print a web shop, right? But normally someone would have to either open it or drag and drop or to or send it to an input folder. This is being done purely automatically, right? And then you have all the settings, step and repeat, which can be used also for the textile printers. So a customer will need a wallpaper, a decoration, or a with a particular pattern, which you remember in Thrive you have the step and repeat options, right? Pattern, right? We did it at the very beginning. Then it will show in the RIP as already a pattern on a particular length and the size, right? So again, otherwise someone would have to do it manually, right? To check, go open an order, to see the order, see an order, and basically input the data manually, right? It can be done again automatically, right? Okay, and again, bleed what we did automatically or partially automatically with quick sets. Then the job which a customer will order will show in the RIP, including the bleed, as you can see here, right? According to the specification, including the job name, media group, etc., media name, mode, etc., right? So all the settings, all these things which we've discussed during today's session, right, can be then done automatically, right? Yep. Obviously, here we are talking rather about bigger size, right? Bigger in terms of number of square meters, number of machines, and the already systems that they have on the production line. Because then for a small customer, it might not really be useful to, and it might not really be able to implement such automation, which is also a cost, right? An additional cost, right? Additional charge per year, right? To use the API. But for you, I think some of you, I would say some of you presume already have big customer, big size, and even though these customers have some MIS systems, right? They will really like to get the information data back from the RIP, right? What RIP does, and eventually what is the information at the end, right? What's been printed, etc., etc. So this is something worth discussing, right? Case by case with us. So as for the rest of the customers, again, you can kind of automate with Poster Shop. An example from one reseller, he told me a story of his customer. They set up RIP a few years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, doesn't really matter, but they set up all the production. That was a small print shop, right? He had like 2 or even 1 printer, so they set it up all with QuickSet, right? So the guy, it was a small print shop, so he was you know, what do you call it, a one-man show, right? So he prepared the files, and then he dropped the files into input folder automatically. But then the tricky part is then when the PC crashed and he had to reinstall the software before he got the new QuickSets, he remembered the QuickSets, he couldn't use the RIP itself because he didn't know where to click, right? So it's a kind of a thing that you see, you can really do it, right? A small shop, 1, 2 printers, yeah, you can automate, right? So it makes life really easier, right? So just, I think we are pretty much done. I'll just touch one thing, as we've already mentioned, web key lookup. The tools which I've mentioned already. So time to time, you might have a look what's on the key. So you have a license, probably sometimes you can see what's on the keys for what machines, how many active printers, etc. This is important, especially if a customer is looking for an upgrade and there are, a few machines, right? Because to provide him with the correct order, right? Because it will be that might be a different option for him for an upgrade if there are more machines, right, etc., right? And also the version of the RIP is important, right? Because then the pricing is different. Obviously, we have also license portal, which is pretty much the same. Maybe I'll not be showing it, but it's because there are some customers' data. Let's see. But it's a poster shop, right? Without customers' data, right? Normally you have all the options here. You can see what's on the key. Okay, I'll not be dealing with some other keys as they are related to customers, right? And obviously partners portal, we can find additional stuff like brochures, leaflets, etc. But what is more important for you, quite often, instead of wasting your time, right? Where is it? Oh, there's this. Sometimes it's easier, and it's well, it saves your sanity sometimes to redirect customers to our website. We have very nice videos on how he can use the features himself, how to do the tiling. You know, sometimes you have a new printer operator and the customer will ask, hey, okay, can you do the training? And then for you, it will take time. And the customer will say, hey, can you do it free of charge? We have 3 machines from you. Hey, please do it free of charge. And it's waste of time quite often, right? For you to train a new person. So we have either here you can say, oh, we have a new learning platform where you can already send operators, they can purchase an online training. So depending on the needs, if they prefer to check some functionalities, right, how to use archive, how to do tiling, some spot colors replacement, etc., they can do it here. But for proper operators training, you can direct customers to the ONYX learning platform where they can purchase the training, and then it will save your time simply sometimes, right? Because quite often the operator training might be might be time consuming, right, to put in that word. Yeah, and that's it. And I think we are pretty much okay. We speed up a little bit on the functionalities.